Welcome to Get Paid for Your Pad, the definitive show on Airbnb hosting, featuring the best advice on how to maximize profits from your Airbnb listing, as well as real-life experiences from Airbnb hosts all over the world. Welcome. We are your hosts, Josefa Kapadia and Jasper Rivers.
Get paid for your pad. 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 Get paid for your pad.
Welcome to another episode of Get Paid for Your Pad. Well, today I have a guest on the show who's already been on the show, episode 175. His episodes was one of the most downloaded episodes of the podcast. And so it only makes sense to get him back. And so I welcome Eric Moeller. How's it going, Eric?
Going great, man. It's going great. It's good to be back. I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. No, a lot of people loved the episode that we did a while back. And I know you've got a lot of stuff going on. We've been talking quite a bit about what's going on, but do you want to give the listeners an idea of kind of a refreshment for those who listen to episode 175, what you're up to in San Diego?
Yeah, of course. I'm based here in San Diego, and I've been out here for about 3 years now, originally from New Jersey. I run a company here in San Diego called Homtel. And we do luxury Airbnbs all throughout San Diego. We have properties in Colorado and had them down in Mexico at one point. So a little bit all over the place. So we run those luxury properties, a mix of leases and co-hosting. And then I'm also the host of the Airbnb Mastery Summit, which is a 3-day virtual event, which you were a part of last year. That's how we met. And just recently launched our new product called the CoHost Mastery. So yeah, we have we have a lot of irons in the fire right now, building a pretty awesome team. Really excited about the luxury Airbnb market here in San Diego and other markets, and then really excited about what's happening in the co-host and Airbnb Mastery Summit space as well.
Cool, and we just had some pretty positive news come out of San Diego as the council. I'll let you tell the story.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, just last night, it was probably around 4:00 Pacific. The city just rescinded a law that they passed 2 months ago. So to kind of give the full story, Airbnb or short-term rentals were never really regulated here in San Diego. They had a certain TOT tax in place, but there was never licenses or any type of restrictions whatsoever, which is one of the main reasons why this market attracted me to build my business here. But there's been a battle going on for the last year or so to pass some type of short-term rental law. And just 2 months ago, I think it was about 60 days ago, the council passed this crazy short-term rental law, just completely restricting short-term rentals here in San Diego, greater San Diego city. And they had some really tough laws in place as far as, it had to be your primary home only. You can only rent up to 6 months out of the year if you're traveling or not in the home. 3-day minimums, high taxes, licenses, all kinds of crazy stuff. And it passed with pretty big support in the council. Of course, Airbnb, HomeAway, all of that came together. We got about 60,000 signatures to kind of fight the law. And just yesterday, it went back to the council, and the council reversed the law that they voted. So as of right now, honestly, it's all brand new. I don't fully understand what is taking place, but the good thing is the law that they did vote into place 60 days ago won't be going into action right away, at least. So I'm sure we're going to have some type of regulations in place. Hopefully it's in support of short-term rentals, but time will only tell. So as of right now, it's, we're pretty excited about it.
Just out of curiosity, why did they vote again?
Well, it's so funny out here. I don't want to create any type of conspiracy theories, but I went to most of the council meetings, and they were some of the biggest council meetings I've ever seen. They had the room split in half with people, locals, in support of short-term rentals, and on the other half against short-term rentals. And everyone was trying to figure out an easy middle ground, which sounded like we were going down that direction. And then out of nowhere, the council voted on this crazy, crazy law to ban it, to restrict it. As soon as that went into place, everyone realized that not only will operators like myself and property managers and investors lose the opportunity of running short-term rentals in San Diego, but the real estate market could have gotten disrupted. This is a secondary market for a lot of people. So buying properties here when they're living in a different state and running a short-term rental is a good way for them to afford these high San Diego prices, So long story short, a lot of people came together within those 60 days to sign that, so Airbnb and HomeAway worked together to get over 60,000 signatures. So now that they had the voice from the public saying, hey, we don't want this vote, the way that you guys put it into place, that caused the city to go back to the drawing table and re-vote again on the law. So we'll see where it goes. But again, as of right now, it's good news for us.
Yeah, well, that's great. Congratulations. That's good news, definitely. There's a lot of places where councils are implementing all sorts of regulations, and one of those places is Long Beach, not too far away from where you are in San Diego. I actually got an email from somebody who runs a short-term rental management company in Long Beach, California, and the council is going to vote in the next month or so. And this person asked me a question that you probably get a lot as well. Because obviously, if you run a short-term rental management company and there's going to be restrictions coming up, then you're going to worry about your business. You're going to worry about your clients. And so his question is really: are there any potential workarounds if there's going to be restrictions into place with regards to the short-term rental market? And I'm sure you've thought about this as well, since this law got passed a couple of months ago in San Diego. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's tricky. I get that question multiple times a day. And it's really tricky to respond to that because, as you know, every single city has a different short-term rental regulations or laws in place. So I'm not fully updated on what's happening in Long Beach. I do know that they're trying to put something in place that's similar to what San Diego just passed, right? So, and I'm noticing a trend. I'm noticing more and more cities are putting really restrictive short-term rental regulations in place to restrict operators like myself who lease up a bunch of properties. We're going to get ready to start buying properties in the future for this model. And then, of course, we co-host with investors. So they try to restrict the amount of licenses or how many units professionals are running. Obviously, really affects property managers, especially if they're working with secondary homeowners or investors. It really restricts how much they can grow their business. So what we've done, I'm a big advocate of playing by the rules. I know plenty of people in New York City and San Francisco that run, their operations behind the scenes, behind the curtain, trying to prevent the city from understanding what they're doing. And to me, that's not a great way to build a business in a city. You want to work with the cities and the community. That's really challenging when you're in a city that just does not want your business model there for whatever reason. So what we've done here in San Diego with Homtel, knowing that those laws are going to come eventually, we actually slowed down the amount of leases that we're taking into the company. So for people that are listening that don't really understand that model, what we do is we lease a property from an owner, stage it, and then re-rent it back out on Airbnb. It's called master leasing. We did a lot of those, and that's how we built our company. So we actually stopped doing that and focused more on partnering with the individual owner of the property. And we're calling it co-hosting, where we partner with the owner. The owner owns the property. They can legally get a license, short-term rental license for that one property. And then we step in, run our Airbnb through the property, and then split the profits at the end of the month. So that's one way that we're working with our company to prevent being shut down in the middle of the night, essentially, if they pass a law saying that residents can only have X amount of short-term rental licenses. So that's one way. And then the second way is really getting involved on a city level, voicing your opinion of why short-term rentals are so important to our communities. And just like here in San Diego, they passed this crazy law, and all the residents came together. 60,000 residents in about 30 days came together to voice their opinion on this law. And, that's proof right there yesterday that they're listening to the residents. They understand that this is a valuable industry. So now they're going to reconsider how they regulate it. There's really the only two ways that we know to fight a city or work around those challenges is switching up the business model of focusing with the people and working with the people that can actually get the short-term rental licenses. And then two, literally getting involved on a daily basis, voicing your opinion with the city. Other than that, I haven't been able to figure out how to work around really restrictive regulations.
Can you explain a little bit more about the difference between the sort of the co-hosting model that you just mentioned and the short-term rental management model?
Yeah. So it's very, very similar to a short-term rental management model. So a lot of people get mixed up with co-hosting and vacation rental management. So what we do is with the co-host models, we like to focus with partnering with the investor on their property. So we work with real estate investors and people who own second homes. We typically stay outside the vacation rental markets because it's the seasonality of it is really difficult to maintain in a lot of communities, maintain your business in those communities. So we seek out investors who own multiple properties, or in our case, we work with large luxury properties, and we partner with them on a level to where we're actually in this property, not just running the Airbnb, but we're looking at this asset as if it's our own, trying to figure out how to make this more profitable on a daily basis, from not only the marketing and the hospitality and seamless turnovers and 5-star standards, but working with them to figure out how do we make it more profitable and lower their expenses on the home. So by doing different audits with the electrical use, things like that, figuring out how we can add in different features into the home to make it more profitable. So we're actually running these properties as if it's our own. The only difference is we're not leasing it. We just split the profits essentially at the end of the month with the owners. Where vacation rentals is a little bit more marketing, cleaning, and then sending a check at the end of the month. It's a little bit less involved with the properties.
So, for example, in the co-hosting model, do you furnish the properties yourself?
Sometimes we'll furnish them. Most of the time, luckily, being here in Southern California, there is a lot of furnished luxury homes, and that's why we chose that market. Plus, it's It's a lot of fun, and they're really, really profitable. But sometimes we'll come in, developers who are building really beautiful luxury homes that they can't sell. We'll put a deal together with them where we step in, we'll paint it, we'll furnish it, but there's no lease. And at the end of the month, we'll take 50% of the profits and divvy them back out 50%. If the property is fully finished and we don't have to invest any money into it, we'll take 30% of gross revenue. So yeah, it's not 50-50 profits, 50-50 gross revenue. Same thing on if it's fully furnished. So we typically try to go down the route of bringing on fully furnished properties because it's a good way to expand our business, get a lot of cash flow coming into the business without investing any money into the assets.
Right. So this is a different model than the typical release model, right? Where you lease an apartment off the owner for 2 or 3 years and you put it on Airbnb.
Yeah. The only difference, well, there's a couple of differences between that model. The biggest is, of course, the investment into the properties. So that's how I started in Airbnb. When I got here in San Diego, I just leased up everything and get my hands on. And we started running into these law changes in little cities around San Diego County. And I started realizing that this is the way of the future. More and more cities are going to restrict how many short-term rental licenses they give out to one individual or entity. And we would invest into a property, sign a lease, put a security deposit down, stage it, which typically, all of that typically cost us $15,000 to $25,000 per property. And out of nowhere, within a few months, a city would change their law, or we would have a problem with the building or a neighbor, something like that. So we started trying to figure out how can we continue to use our team systems and processes to grow our business without risking that $25,000. And we found that the co-hosting is not only better, not only is it easier to scale our short-term rental business, but it's easy. It's actually more profitable than leases because it takes us about nearly 2 years to recoup that investment on a property. Where co-hosting, we'll get properties in here where we don't invest a dime, and within 30 days it's cash flowing. So that's why we're doubling down on the co-hosting model.
Because, okay, so just so I understand correctly, so if you were doing the co-hosting model, you're not renting out all those places. They're in the name of the owner.
Exactly.
So that's why it's easier to scale when there's regulation restricting the amount of licenses that you can get, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So we're in a community. We had about 6 units leases in a community that changed their laws pretty quickly, and they restricted it to where they will only give out 2 licenses, one for your primary home and a second for an investment home. So that's all they would issue out. And we were looking at different angles of how can we work around that law. And the best way that we found was, instead of us as Homtel, the entity receiving the license, we would go and partner with the individuals that can get those licenses who have investment properties. So they get it. We partner with them. We're not leasing it, but we run the Airbnb. And then at the end of the month, we divvy up the revenue.
Right, that makes a little sense. So that could be an option for other people out there, for example, the listener who sent me the question about Long Beach.
It's a great. So I tell everybody that the co-host model is really good for two reasons. One is to get into the industry and start building a short-term rental business really quick. You can go out and find somebody to partner with literally within 30 days if you put the focus into it. Get a property, you partner with them, you start running the Airbnb. So it's a good way to get into the industry and start growing a short-term rental business without having to invest a ton of money into a lease or furniture. 2, it's really good to hedge against the law changes and or scale your operation for bringing in revenue for the people who want to get 10, 20, 30, 40 units. There's a really good way of doing that without having to go put leases together, security deposits, and all that furniture. So it's a good way to just inject revenue into your company.
Now, I'm sure that the number one question that people will have when they hear this is how do you find those investors?
Yeah, so we have a few different ways of how we're going to approach this, and we're actually doing a training on this in upcoming weeks on how we put these deals together. Our approach, it's very simple, and I get a lot of students who always ask me that question. I tell them that it's not easy, but it's simple, and it's all about consistency. So we have a process where we have 3 avenues. The most profitable right now is Realtor.com and Craigslist. We literally have a team all day long who goes through Craigslist and Realtor.com and sends an email sequence out to people who are looking to lease fully furnished properties. That's our first step, is to go to contact those people that are actively looking for a long-term lease. So we're going through there. We introduce ourselves, introduce the model to them, and schedule an appointment. And then we go out and start talking to them one-on-one. That does one or two things. One, you can find the actual property that way. 2, building relationships in your community with realtors and investors. And then I also recommend, if people they're established, they have their short-term rental business in their community, is to start talking and educating the community about their model. And that's what we do quite often here in San Diego. We run 2 different events, local events, where we invite investors, realtors, brokers, anybody in the real estate industry out to educate them on short-term rentals in Airbnb. And we get a lot of deals every single month through that model. And it really doesn't cost us anything. And we have about 50 to 100 people that come out every single month that are local to those events. Those are our 2 main avenues of how we get properties. The third is a little bit more advanced. We invest quite a bit of money into retargeting ads on Facebook, Google AdWords, all that jazz. That's a whole nother podcast. Talk about that stuff.
You said you're hosting a training, like a webinar?
Yeah. So we so not this upcoming Thursday, the following Thursday, we're doing I always say it's a 1-hour training, but typically turns into a 2-hour training. I'm literally breaking down, I'm doing a whole overview of the co-host model of how we built our business here in San Diego with the co-host model. And then we're going to introduce the tools that we're using to systematize our company and really scale our company. So, and it's a free training. So whoever's listening, I'm sure we could post the link, but they can find it at cohostmastery.com/Airbnb-Masterclass. So again, that's cohostmastery.com/Airbnb-Masterclass. So we're literally just going to open to our community of how we're scaling our co-host business.
Very cool. So that's Thursday, November 1st, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I fly to Singapore on that day, but hopefully,
very nice.
Hopefully, if I'm not on the plane, I'll certainly join.
I love it. I'll send you the replay if you're not.
Well, I definitely want to see it because I'm pretty curious. I would say of all the Airbnb sort of influencers and people out there, I'm always really interested in what you're up to because you always seems to be killing it. So and
I appreciate it, man.
With the Airbnb Mastery Summit, that you did a pretty good job at organizing that as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just obsessed with it, man. It's I come from, my background is in real estate developing and investing, and it's a whole different industry. I feel like Airbnb has rebirthed this industry of short-term rentals and merged it with real estate investing, and I'm just obsessed with it. I feel like we're in the beginning stages of a new wave of real estate opportunity, and it's fun and it's cool. Like we get to have properties in really cool areas all around the country. Next year, we're going to start expanding internationally. And I get to connect with amazing people like yourself. So yeah, I'm just obsessed with it, man. So I love creating training and just giving out content of what we're learning as we grow our business.
Just a random question. I was looking into the Airbnb Open. Do you think it's ever going to happen again?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I hope it does. The last one was incredible. I think that ended when Chip left Airbnb. So I don't know. Maybe they're hiring. Maybe I'll go up there and run it for them. But yeah, they definitely need to bring it back, man. It was a good time.
Yeah, the latest I saw on this topic was in some community Airbnb thread. Somebody commented in April or something that they're still trying to figure out how to, bring most value to Airbnb hosts and stuff like that. But it really sounded like they had no plan at all. So yeah, I'd be surprised if they ever organize one again. I also imagine. I mean, the last one in Los Angeles, it's quite a organization. I mean,
it was massive.
It was huge.
Didn't they have like Lady Gaga perform in the middle of it? It's like, it was a massive, massive undertaking. And I remember running into Chip randomly during the Airbnb Open in LA and just trying to have a small little interaction with him. And you could just see the amount of stress that was on him for running that event. But he did such an incredible job organizing that. Airbnb just did an incredible job with the entire event. So I hope they put it back on, but they're going to need another Chip on their team to organize it correctly.
Yeah, I don't know if they can find another Chip though. He was a bit of a unique character, wasn't he?
I love that guy. He just came out with a new book. If anybody is not familiar with Chip Conley, he's written a few books. But one of my favorites from him is Peak. And I've read that a couple of times now, and my whole team has read it. And it's just incredible, his look at hospitality and then how he trained his team to really go above and beyond with hospitality and really focus on the culture of the team, the culture of their business, and moving that forward, transferring that to their guests. So it's a highly recommended book, and he just came out with a new one, which I haven't read yet, but I'm sure it's just as amazing.
Well, let's go back in time a little bit. September 25, 2014. I actually released an episode. I had the pleasure to interview him on the podcast in episode 24.
Oh, very nice.
So that's like
24?
Just over 2 years ago. No, 4 years ago. Just over 4 years ago, yeah. But I remember he gave some really good tips.
I'll have to go back and listen to that. Should get him on again. He's curious what he's up to nowadays.
Yeah. No, he was out of all the Airbnb people that I tried to get on the podcast. He was kind of the only one who was excited.
Right.
I mean, I tried. Well, for a long time, I tried to get Brian Chesky on the podcast. Unfortunately, he seems to be quite busy.
He's a little busy, I would assume.
What do you think he's working on? Starting a new airline?
It's so funny. I was masterminding on that topic yesterday with a bunch of entrepreneur friends, just chatting about what Airbnb has done and where they're going. And obviously, the rumors are that they're going to go public in 2019, which would be incredible, because now they can really start competing with the bigger guys like Expedia and, Google's coming into the space. So there's going to be a lot of competitors, bigger competitors. So for them to go public, I'm pretty excited to watch them do that. So I know as a CEO, focusing on going public with their company, I'm sure is insanely busy with that. But I truly believe, man, like we're going to see over the next couple of years, Airbnb just fully taking over everything travel and every experience as you go into a city. So Obviously, they have their properties locked down. They're doing an incredible job with the experiences on their platform. Now they're tapping into music venues. They're going to probably rewrite what that looks like to see a local show in a city. They're partnering now with restaurants. So I just see them just becoming like the Google of travel. You want to do anything in, search engine wise, Google has all these different tools and all of that to run your business. I feel Airbnb is going to be similar to that with the travel side. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see where all this goes. I know they're tapping into the real estate development world as well. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they started their own airline system, but that's a challenging industry for sure.
Yeah, I was reading up on some opinions that I found, and this one person was saying that he thinks they're going to start an airline, and in order to be competitive, they're going to offer people who use the Airbnb airline to be able to check in at any time when they arrive in their city at any Airbnb. That's what I read.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, huh? But
yeah, it's really interesting.
Somebody else was saying that they're working more on like a kind of a Skyscanner, just like a kind of a search engine for flights.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm really excited as well to see what they can do in the airline space, because I feel like in the airline space in the last 40 years or so, essentially not that much has changed. Other than a lot of things that you used to be able to do, you can't do anymore. And there's a lot more hassle around like security and stuff.
Right.
But in terms of like service, and like, how do you say, innovation, not a lot has changed.
It hasn't moved. No, the dial hasn't moved that much. Of course, Virgin did an incredible job to kind of reset the standards of quality on their airlines. And, of course, they sold to Alaska, which, they do an incredible job as well. But, just like you, I fly and travel quite a bit. And every single time I'm there, I go through an airport or I sit on a plane. I'm a big guy. I'm, 6'4", 220 pounds. So I barely fit in planes. Every single time I'm there, I'm like, man, this whole industry is just waiting for disruption. The whole experience, it's just not a fun experience being on a plane, and I think what Airbnb does better than anybody in the world is recreate experiences, and they create incredible experiences on, guest side, the host side. Now, obviously their experience section on their website. So I wouldn't be surprised if they came in and kind of did a version 2.0 to really recreate the experience of travel. Yeah, and I can't wait for them to do that.
Yeah, and talking about airplanes and travel, I started flying quite a bit with Norwegian. Have you heard of them?
I have. Never flew.
So the reason I'm flying a lot with them these days is that they have a premium class. And just for the record, I usually fly economy class just because the step to business class is just too much, right? Often it's 3 or 4 times as expensive, and it's just not worth it for me. So typically I always fly economy class, but Norwegian has a premium class that's not quite business class, but it's pretty close, I'd say. I would definitely say it turns an airplane experience into an enjoyable experience, just because you have more space, and it's you get a little bit better food, and you have just better attention and everything. So and that's not too expensive. Those tickets are actually quite affordable. I've been able to book a one-way ticket from US to Europe, and I've just booked one to Singapore from Barcelona and back. And those tickets go for around $800, I'd say. And again, it's not quite business class, but it's pretty close to business class. Whereas a
Right.
business class ticket often costs, at least $1,500, if not $2,000, $2,500.
Yeah, but it blows my mind how expensive first class can get. But I tell you what, that's one goal of mine is to I have it on my dream board, and I visualize it, a couple days a week, is to get to the point where every time I travel, I can go in first class. I can't stand economy anymore.
Have you heard about JetSmarter and these other jet services?
Yeah, I bounced through them. I haven't heard of JetSmart, but I bounced through those pages quite a bit.
All right, so I tried JetSmarter, which basically you pay. I didn't do it anymore now, but I did it 1 year, where I think I paid like $15,000 or something, and then you can fly unlimited with private jets as long as it's less than 3 hours. And then you
Oh,
get some credits for intercontinental. So I actually flew from London to New York once, and I mean that was incredible. I mean that was such an enjoyable experience because it's not just the amount of space that you have in the plane and everything, but it's more so you get to arrive in a special terminal. You don't have to wait very long. You can arrive like 10, 15 minutes in advance, and then when you land, you walk out of the plane. You're on the tarmac. They give you a suitcase, and then you walk straight to a separate immigration, and literally within 10 minutes you can be in an Uber.
I love that.
So,
Absolutely love that.
because even if you fly first class, you still have to deal with all the hassle at the airport.
Yep. Yeah, another really good hack for the ones that can't afford a $12,000 to $15,000 a year ticket, which it sounds like an incredible ROI on that. But another really good hack is the pre-check, TSA pre-check. So I'm always surprised on how few people actually have this, but I don't know if this is something that is global or if you have to be a U.S. resident for this, but the pre-check literally took me a week to go through the process. But essentially, you go into your local airport, you sit down, they ask you a bunch of different questions, they take a photo of you, you give them all your info, the government does a quick little background check on you, and a week later you receive a pre-check card with some information, and that just allows you to skip all the lines, and gives you some extra perks as well. But it's saving me at least an hour and a half of travel every single time I go to an airport. And when you fly out early or whatever, hour and a half is a lot of time. So, and it's like $50 to get it. But that's another hack that I like to tell people that travel quite a bit, is just to go through the pre-check process.
Yeah, I always see that pre-check thing, but I don't think I qualify as a non-American citizen. But
Okay.
I will definitely check it out next time I go to the
Yeah.
There's this other thing called global entry that
Mm-hmm.
that you can apply as a foreigner, but your country has to have some sort of partnership with the US in order to qualify for that. I actually looked into it, and my country unfortunately doesn't have that arrangement yet. So, but yeah,
Okay.
that sounds incredible, because that's a big part of the hassle, right? The lines and the security and stuff.
Yeah, it takes up a lot of time.
Definitely. Eric, we're getting to the end of the episode. Always great talking to you, and I wanted to mention, I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but me and Eric have actually been brainstorming about doing a retreat for Airbnb hosts, and especially now that Airbnb Open doesn't happen anymore, we thought it'd be really cool to get a bunch of people together, go to some really cool country like Costa Rica or something, rent a gigantic villa, and spend 2 or 3 days talking about Airbnb, learning from each other, maybe inviting some interesting speakers, and also just have a lot of fun and do some cool activities. So yeah, I think that would be
man. I love that.
fun, right?
Dude, I can't wait for us to put together our first retreat. It's gonna be incredible, man. I've been honestly thinking about it every day. Just thinking, I'm like, how awesome would that be to just get into one of these incredible 20-bedroom villas, and just tapping into both of our networks, and just bringing down some really incredible hosts to figure out how do we grow our businesses and become more profitable, and then do some cool stuff alongside that, surfing, hiking, whatever it is. But yeah, really excited about getting a retreat going with you.
Yeah, me too. So we just started kind of the process of brainstorming, like what would it look like exactly. And if you're interested, again, please reach out to Jasper at getpaidforyourpad. Jasper at getpaidforyourpad.com. I don't know my own email address anymore. That's funny. But I reached out, Jasper at getpaidforyourpad.com. A few people actually have already reached out, so that's really cool.
Oh, very nice.
And if you do reach out, feel free to give us some ideas as well as what you'd be interested in learning. I mean, obviously the topic of Airbnb is quite broad. There's all sorts of topics that we can talk about just on this episode. We've already talked about like different business models and so I think it would be really great if we would have a good idea of what people are looking for. So reach out and let us know what you'd be interested in, and then we'll take on the task of putting it all together. Eric, for people who are interested in learning from you, and I'm sure there's a lot of people, because I'm very interested in learning from you, so I'm sure there's other people too. Where can they go? Because I know you have so much stuff going on.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. So for the immediate, for anybody who's interested in the co-host model, definitely check out the training that we're going to put on. Something that my team and I have been working on for a couple of months now, so we're pretty excited about it. But you can find that going to cohostmastery.com/Airbnb-Masterclass. And then the best way to get in touch with me, communicate with me, and just learn everything that we're working on is actually going through the private Facebook group that we're all involved with. I found that's the best way for people to reach out to me. So anybody who wants to join that group and just communicate with everybody and then contact me, just go to airbnbprofitclub.com. Jot in your info, and then we'll just add you into the private group. So again, that's airbnbprofitclub.com. And that'll be the best way to communicate with me.
Awesome. And you can even communicate with me because I'm in that group too. Hey.
Yeah, that's it. You're one of our prize monitors in that group.
Yeah, man. Fun to be part of that. All right, Eric. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure the listeners will really appreciate this episode. And we'll keep working on that retreat and all the other cool stuff that you're working on and that we could potentially work on together. So appreciate it, man.
Of course, I appreciate you and appreciate all your listeners. Thanks for your time.
Thanks to everybody for listening. And of course, next Wednesday, there's going to be another episode. And by the way, don't forget to tune in to the live streams every Monday at 11 a.m. PST. I've been doing a couple now where I review other people's Airbnb listings, and there's always something to learn from looking at somebody else's Airbnb listing. I always learn something from it. And so on YouTube, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, and then you'll get notified. So thanks for listening, and until next time.
Get paid for your pad. 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 Get paid for your pad.